they allow payments to be taken for their merchants from 135 countries. And what I mean by that is end customers in 135 different countries can can make payments through Stripe software. But this is the interesting part, is that their merchants only allow merchants to sign up with them in 40 different countries. So think about that disparity there, right? Is that, and this is actually one of their biggest risks, which is very few. I tried very hard to find a lot of risks that surround Stripe and sort of bear cases, if you will, for Stripe. This is one of the few. Is that the amount of countries that they are actually present in for merchants to sign up with them and become part of them is only 40 countries versus allowing 135 for customers to come and pay through them. So they have ground to make up, especially if you think of places like Africa, Asia, India, China, especially, and obviously at the continent of Africa, three of them, the most up and coming places. Wasn't it? I think we chatted about this last year as well, where Africa was the next $1 trillion market or something, or basically the most one of the most
middle class.
Yeah, the most untapped customer base, basically. But I think also on the flip side of that, Stripe is solving that problem for themselves because I don't know if you saw they've invested in Paystack, that Nigerian payment processor. They also invested in a company called PayMongo, a Filipino payment processor. So they are definitely thinking about that, and they've made tactical acquisitions to sort of address that problem.
Yeah.
But I guess what you could argue, what they are up against is Jack Dorsey from, with Square, and he's a big advocate for Africa. I mean, I read today that he wanted to go. Did you hear this? That he wanted to go live there. He wanted to go live in Africa to learn about the culture and stuff. He wanted to go live there for like a year or two, but his board actually denied him. They actually said, you can't go.
Too dangerous or what?
Yeah, no, I don't know. You'll be too distracted.
Well, imagine the growth in online payments over the next 10, 15, 20 years. I mean,
so Jonty, think about somewhere like South Africa, where, imagine if Stripe can, and I know there are already a couple of payment processors that are incumbent in South Africa. Think of PayFast.
So our payment gateway is PayFast.
Is the main one is PayFast, right? But I mean, imagine Stripe coming into South Africa. Don't you think that they would heavily intrude on the market share that, whatever market share PayFast has, they would heavily take away, given their brand, given their offering of services?
Yeah, so I mean, that's an interesting question. I wonder how they would disrupt. And I mean, if we think of, so we have Yoko here, which is more of a point of sale device, right? But they offer those, value add services as well. I know they do. I think they do financing now. They do the data analytics a bit. They have that whole platform where you can analyze, your inventory, and there's back office analysis, I think, as well. So I wonder, but Yoko doesn't offer an online service, does it?
No, I think they just point of sale here. They just have their little card
reader. It would be only PayFast, if I understand correctly. Then
yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I think there are a couple of others, very small. I remember looking at it when I was starting Conservice, looking at the different payment gateways, and there's a couple of other ones.
I haven't researched much of the SA market, but it would be interesting. And a big thing for me is and for something like a big company like Stripe is understanding the different regulatory environments. So I think, that's also a challenge for such a big company that operates globally. And I think that's also the value add they give merchants, is that, merchants don't have to worry about the regulatory issues and all the admin and requirements around that as well.
And also, especially in an industry like this, the payments and sort of the financial services industry, where it is highly regulated, you know, not that I know what exact regulations is, but I mean, you're dealing with banks
I think we
and
have PASA here in South Africa,
yeah, exactly,
Payment
exactly. And
Association of South Africa. Yeah.
yeah, and remember also Stripe is also, they've got Stripe Capital, where they obviously lend capital to their merchants. Um, they've also got a potential banking as a service sort of new product coming out, which I want to touch on later as their future growth. But I mean, there's a lot of regulatory coverage, and like one has to ask the question: are they maybe viewing Nigeria as their one big Africa play, or do they want to be in the whole of Africa? Maybe they just want to understand Nigeria, because isn't Nigeria is also the biggest economy of Africa, right?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, so maybe I'm obviously this is just a speculation, but maybe they're one big Africa play where they think it's going to be the most worth it for them is to capture Nigeria, get in there early, which is shown by their investment in Paystack.
So, yeah, the question I was thinking about is, how much does it help the business if they have a more of a global offering? So if they operate in more countries, does that help them get more merchants on board? So, for example, for Amazon, if Stripe can offer them payments over more countries and in more currencies, does that obviously make them choose Stripe over, say, a Square, if Square doesn't offer that same range of countries to operate in? So, I would think it's definitely another value add that they can offer. And so, maybe getting into Africa, a lot of big merchants are probably also thinking about entering into that market. Does that mean that if Stripe's there as well and can offer the services there, does that help their business? And I'll definitely say that is another opportunity for them.
Definitely, I think so. Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, you got to also think about the sort of product offerings, right? So you mentioned Square versus Stripe, right? Square, I mean, Square, we know they have the small card reader, and they're targeting mostly small to medium sized businesses, whereas Stripe is mainly focused on online, on internet businesses, and will go from startup, tiny, to small business, to medium sized businesses, to enterprise. So, I mean, you got to think as well. I mean, if they're coming into Africa, and maybe in the next 10 or 20 years we see a massive sort of African e-commerce giant arise, maybe the Alibaba equivalent. Maybe you could argue Takealot is that of South Africa already. Imagine Stripe starts getting some, like, Takealot as a client, as a merchant, another massive Nigerian e-commerce store as a customer. First of all, I think, like you say, it's a big value add and increasing their customer base, and also, yeah, for the existing customers to then enter into different regions as well, to expand their own offering, allowing their merchants to then pop up in Africa as well. But I think also a big thing is the data here, Jonty, because then you're tapping into a whole new demographic of data, and they're going to start, and they can maybe create specific niched products for certain African people, based on their problems, which yeah, and this is a common theme of this episode, I think, which will be a big takeaway, is looking at the granular level, granular data, and picking out insights and problems that you can solve for your customers, which Stripe is doing. So I think that could be a huge thing moving into Africa.
Mm. I wonder. So I mean, just on South Africa, I wonder if it wouldn't. It's probably not worthwhile for them. I mean, it's small market. Already has pay fast. Like I don't know what pay fast charges, but I wonder if it's the economics are worthwhile for them. Maybe that's like a place like Nigeria, as you say, probably much bigger economy, more room for growth. There's probably less competition there. I'm not too sure. This is just all assumptions, but
Mm.
um, yeah, they're probably looking at Africa, but I wonder if South Africa is on their list. And I wonder how hard it is to enter a market and to compete with already set players. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
I mean, maybe because remember, obviously, Stripe is at the scale that they are now. They're not just sort of solely focused on their payment processing API, and that's not their core product anymore. They do have different arms to the business now. So maybe we could see a scenario where they sort of come in with their. I don't know if they have a separate. I don't know if you know. I don't know if they have a separate Stripe like venture capital arm, but obviously where they put their investments into different, where they put their investments through. But maybe we'll just see an expansion through. What if they like acquire Takealot? What if they acquire Payfast and that's their way into South Africa, through M&A, through strategic investments like that? Maybe we can also, maybe they'll mainly push Stripe Atlas in South Africa, enabling, because I mean, listen, Jonty, look, think about how valuable that is to South Africans, to any to people, to to the intelligent, business community that we have in South Africa, that maybe doesn't have the means or the facilities to go through all the admin, and having an enabler like Stripe who can literally set up your business in I don't even know how long it takes, but pretty quickly, and then giving you a payments processing API to start your business, basically giving a company in a box, and the founders can just run with it. Imagine the opportunities you can unlock. And I think this also ties into their mission and their purpose is increasing the GDP of the internet. And we know that in South Africa and the rest of Africa, the internet is something that is still has to be used a lot more than the rest of the world to get value, to unlock value. So I think that's a really, I don't know, maybe we see that play out, but that would be really interesting, I think.